Nobody expected to hear from Lil Durk like this. For months, fans have been wondering what was really going through his mind while sitting behind bars. Rumors have spread across social media every single week. Some people claimed his career was over. Others believed he would never be the same artist again. But then, a message surfaced that completely changed the conversation. Instead of responding with anger or trying to fuel more drama, Durk's words caught fans off guard. Many people expected headlines about the case, yet what they got was something far more personal. His message sparked thousands of reactions online, with supporters debating what it really means for his future and whether this marks a major turning point in his life. Now everyone is asking the same question: is this the beginning of a new chapter for Lil Durk, or is there a much bigger story unfolding behind the scenes? In today's video, we're breaking down everything surrounding Durk's latest message from jail, why fans are reacting so strongly, and what this could mean as his legal case continues to move forward. We'll separate verified updates from internet rumors, examine why this moment has grabbed so much attention, and explain why the hip-hop community can't stop talking about it. But here's the part almost nobody is discussing. Some fans believe this wasn't just another post or another statement. They think it revealed a completely different mindset from the artist they've followed for years. So stay with me until the very end, because once you hear the full story and put all the pieces together, you may understand why Lil Durk's latest message has everyone looking at him in a completely different way. For months, one question has been hanging over the hip-hop world. What is Lil Durk
His lawyer
really
argued
thinking
that
while
the
sitting
audio
behind
was taken
bars?
out of context,
Ever since
claiming
his arrest,
Durk was
the
speaking
headlines have
hypothetically,
focused almost
not
entirely on
confessing.
court filings,
They filed
legal arguments, and trial dates. Every few weeks, another update appears online. Another hearing. Another delay. Another debate across social media. But through all of that noise, Durk himself remained relatively quiet, leaving fans to wonder what was actually going on behind the scenes. Then, something changed. Instead of making headlines because of another courtroom development, Lil Durk surprised everyone with a message that caught both fans and critics completely off guard. Rather than talking about fame, money, or the music industry, he spoke about his mindset, patience, and personal growth while waiting for his day in court. According to the message shared publicly, he explained that he'd been spending his time reading books, reflecting on life, and trying to become a better person. For many people, this wasn't the response they expected. Social media immediately exploded. Some fans said this sounded like a completely different version of Lil Durk. Others believed prison had given him time to think about life in a way he never could before. Meanwhile, critics questioned whether the message represented genuine personal growth or simply another chapter in a story that has captivated the hip-hop world for months. Whatever side people took, one thing became impossible to ignore. Everybody was talking. If you followed Lil Durk's career from the beginning, you know his journey has never been simple. He rose from Chicago's drill scene to become one of the biggest artists in rap, earning platinum records, Grammy recognition, and millions of loyal fans around the world. His music often reflected the realities of loss, survival, loyalty, and success, making him one of the most recognizable voices of his generation. But over the past couple of years, the conversation shifted. Instead of discussing new albums or chart success, headlines increasingly focused on legal proceedings. Federal prosecutors accused Durk of involvement in a murder-for-hire conspiracy related to the 2022 killing of Xavier Robinson, while Durk has pleaded not guilty and continues to deny the allegations. His trial has been postponed multiple times as both sides prepare for the complex case. That uncertainty has left fans asking countless questions. What happens next? Will the trial begin on schedule? Will new evidence emerge? And perhaps most importantly, how has all of this affected Lil Durk personally? Those questions became even more interesting after his recent message. According to Durk, his focus has shifted toward reading, learning, and developing patience. He also spoke about wanting to create a more positive impact instead of becoming what he described as a pawn for the culture. Those words immediately spread across hip-hop media, generating thousands of reactions from fans who had been waiting months to hear directly from him. Some supporters praised the message, saying it showed maturity. Others remained skeptical. But regardless of where people stood, the reaction proved one thing: Lil Durk's voice still carries enormous influence. Even while sitting behind bars, one short message was enough to dominate rap conversations across multiple platforms. That's something very few artists can do. What's also fascinating is how quickly public opinion can change. Just weeks earlier, discussions centered almost entirely around legal updates and courtroom speculation. Now people were debating Durk's mental state, his personal growth, and whether this experience could completely reshape the next chapter of his life. And that's exactly why this story has become so much bigger than a single court case. It's now about legacy. It's about whether one of Chicago's biggest rap stars can redefine how people remember him while one of the biggest legal battles of his career continues unfolding. But here's where things become even more interesting. Behind the headlines, there are several details about Durk's recent message, and the timing of it, that many fans completely missed. Some believe those details reveal what he's really thinking as he waits for trial, while others think they could signal a major change in the direction of his career. We're going to break down the hidden meaning behind Lil Durk's message, why it has created so much discussion across the hip-hop community, and what it could reveal about his future as one of rap's biggest stars. The biggest surprise wasn't just that Lil Durk finally spoke. It was what he chose to talk about. If you've followed his career over the last decade, you know that Durk has always been an artist who puts his emotions into his music. He's rapped about loss, loyalty, family, success, and the harsh realities of growing up in Chicago. His fans connected with him because they felt his music reflected real experiences rather than manufactured stories. That's why his recent public message immediately caught people's attention. Instead of discussing upcoming music, industry drama, or trying to respond to every rumor circulating online, the focus appeared to be on personal reflection. Reports highlighted comments about reading, learning, becoming more patient, and trying to make better use of his time while awaiting trial. Those statements quickly spread across hip-hop pages, with thousands of fans sharing their opinions. Complex. Almost instantly, social media split into two groups. The first group believed this showed real personal growth. They argued that difficult situations often force people to slow down and reflect. According to these fans, Durk wasn't trying to impress anyone, he was simply sharing where his mind was during one of the toughest periods of his life. Many supporters praised him for speaking about patience and self-improvement instead of adding more negativity to an already stressful situation. The second group wasn't so convinced. Some questioned whether people should read too much into a single public message. Others pointed out that the legal process is still ongoing and that the most important developments will happen inside the courtroom rather than on social media. Regardless of which opinion people had, one thing became obvious. Lil Durk had everyone's attention. That's something that has followed him throughout his career. Whether releasing an album, collaborating with another artist, or making a public statement, Durk has consistently remained one of the biggest topics in hip-hop. Few artists can disappear from public view for weeks and then instantly dominate conversations with just a few words. Another reason this message became such a major story is because of the timing. For months, fans had mostly been hearing from attorneys, reporters, and legal analysts. Court filings, hearing dates, and procedural updates became the primary source of information. Direct comments from Durk himself were rare, making this message feel far more significant than it might have under normal circumstances. Supporters also began comparing today's Durk with the artist they first started listening to years ago. Back then, much of the conversation centered around survival, ambition, and proving doubters wrong. Today, many fans believe they're seeing someone who has experienced enormous personal and professional changes. Whether or not people agree with every decision he's made, they acknowledge that his journey has been anything but ordinary. There's another reason this story has exploded online. People naturally become curious when someone known for being private decides to speak. Whenever a public figure who usually stays quiet finally shares their thoughts, audiences tend to pay much closer attention. Every sentence gets analyzed. Every phrase gets discussed. Every word gets turned into headlines and debated across social media. That's exactly what happened here. Some fans focused on the idea of patience. Others paid attention to his comments about reading books and using his time productively. Still others interpreted the message as a sign that he's thinking beyond music and considering what kind of legacy he wants to leave behind. Of course, it's important to remember that public reactions don't determine the outcome of a legal case. Those questions will ultimately be decided through the court process. But public opinion can influence how people view an artist's personal journey, and that's what makes this moment so interesting. Even people who hadn't been following every legal update suddenly found themselves paying attention again. Hip-hop pages, reaction channels, podcasts, and fan accounts all began discussing the same question. Has Lil Durk changed? It's a difficult question to answer. Only Durk truly knows what he's thinking. But what isn't difficult to see is how powerful his influence remains. One message. A few paragraphs. And suddenly the entire hip-hop community was having a new conversation. That's not something every artist can accomplish. It also reminds us how quickly narratives can change. Just weeks ago, discussions focused almost entirely on court dates and legal strategy. Now many people are talking about growth, reflection, and what the future could look like after one of the biggest challenges of his career. But here's where the story takes another unexpected turn. While fans were reacting to Durk's message, several new developments surrounding his legal case quietly continued unfolding in the background. Those updates may not have generated the same viral headlines, but they could prove just as important in the months ahead. And once you connect those developments with everything Durk has been saying, you begin to understand why so many people believe the next chapter of this story could be the most important one yet. In the next part, we'll break down what could happen moving forward, why fans are watching every new development so closely, and how this ongoing situation may shape Lil Durk's future both inside and outside the music industry. Now comes the question that's on everyone's mind. What happens next for Lil Durk? Right now, no one outside the courtroom knows exactly how this case will unfold. The legal process is still ongoing, and both the prosecution and the defense continue preparing their arguments. That uncertainty has created non-stop discussion across the hip-hop community, with fans closely following every verified update and every new court filing. For Durk supporters, the waiting has been one of the hardest parts. Every time a new hearing is scheduled, social media lights up with speculation. Every time the case is delayed or new documents become public, thousands of people rush online trying to figure out what it means. Some expect a major breakthrough, while others believe the legal process will continue taking time before any final outcome is reached. But while the courtroom battle continues, something else has quietly been happening. People have started looking back at Lil Durk's career in a completely different way. For years, Durk built his reputation through consistency. Long before he became one of hip-hop's biggest names, he was releasing music, building a loyal fan base, and proving that he could survive in one of the most competitive industries in the world. He wasn't an overnight success. His rise came through years of work, setbacks, and persistence. Now, many fans are revisiting that journey. Streaming numbers for older songs continue to remain strong, classic interviews are circulating online again, and longtime supporters are reminding newer listeners just how much Durk has contributed to modern rap. Across social media, people are sharing clips from different stages of his career, pointing out how far he's come and how many obstacles he's already overcome. For some fans, that's become just as important as the latest headlines. Instead of focusing only on the legal case, they're also talking about his impact on music. His storytelling. His collaborations. His influence on Chicago drill and the wider rap scene. And perhaps most importantly, the emotional connection his music created with millions of listeners. That's something statistics alone can't measure. Many artists have hit songs. Many artists have successful albums. But only a handful build a fan base that continues standing behind them during difficult moments. That's exactly what has happened with Lil Durk. Even while he remains away from the spotlight, discussions about his music haven't disappeared. If anything, they've become stronger. Supporters continue debating which project was his best. They revisit favorite lyrics. They remember collaborations that introduced him to entirely new audiences. And they discuss what kind of music he might create in the future. That last question is especially interesting. Whenever an artist goes through a life-changing experience, fans naturally wonder whether it will influence their creativity. Will future songs sound different? Will his perspective change? Will the themes in his music evolve? Nobody knows the answers yet. But history has shown that major life experiences often shape the art artists create afterward. Another reason people remain so invested is because Durk has become more than just a rapper for many fans. Over the years, his career has represented perseverance. He experienced personal loss. He faced enormous pressure. He celebrated major achievements. And through all of it, he continued making music that resonated with listeners around the world. That's why this chapter feels different. It's not just another headline. It's another defining moment in a career filled with challenges and comebacks. Of course, it's also important to separate emotion from fact. Many rumors continue circulating online every single day. Some claim insider knowledge. Others predict outcomes before the court has reached any conclusions. But until the legal process is complete, those remain speculation. The verified facts will come from official court proceedings, not from viral social media posts. That's something every fan should keep in mind while following this story. Still, one thing cannot be ignored. Lil Durk's influence remains incredibly strong. Even without releasing new interviews every week or constantly appearing in public, he continues dominating conversations across hip-hop media. Very few artists have that level of cultural impact. Every update becomes breaking news. Every public statement creates debate. Every new development is analyzed from every possible angle. And that's exactly why millions of people continue paying attention. Because they understand this story isn't finished yet. There are still many questions waiting to be answered. How will the legal case progress? What comes after the courtroom proceedings? Will Lil Durk eventually return to making music? And if he does, what will that next chapter look like? Those questions remain unanswered today. But one thing is becoming increasingly clear. Regardless of what happens next, this period will likely become one of the most significant chapters in Lil Durk's career. It's a moment that fans, critics, and the entire hip-hop community will remember for years to come. And in the final part of this video, we're going to look at the bigger picture, why this story extends far beyond one artist, what it says about modern hip-hop, and why Lil Durk's legacy will continue being debated long after this case reaches its conclusion. As we reach the end of this story, one thing has become very clear. This isn't just another headline about a rapper. It's a story about legacy, public opinion, and how quickly life can change for one of the biggest names in hip-hop. Over the last several years, Lil Durk has built a career that very few artists can match. He went from being a young rapper trying to make a name for himself in Chicago to becoming one of the most recognizable voices in modern rap. Along the way, he released chart-topping music, collaborated with some of the biggest artists in the industry, and built a fanbase that has stayed loyal through both his biggest victories and his toughest moments. That kind of journey doesn't happen overnight. It takes years of hard work, consistency, and the ability to adapt to an industry that changes almost every day. And that's exactly why so many people continue paying attention to every new development involving Durk. For longtime fans, this isn't just about a legal case. It's about someone whose music became the soundtrack to different moments in their lives. Many listeners discovered Lil Durk during difficult times. Others connected with his lyrics because they felt honest and emotional. His songs often explored pain, loyalty, ambition, family, and loss in ways that resonated with millions of people around the world. That emotional connection is one of the biggest reasons his supporters continue standing beside him today. But there's another side to this story. It also serves as a reminder of how quickly public narratives can change. One day, the internet celebrates an artist's success. The next day, the conversation shifts to controversy. Then, weeks later, a single public message can completely change what people are talking about. We've seen that happen countless times in the entertainment industry. Lil Durk's recent message reminded many people that behind every headline is a real person dealing with real challenges. While fans continue debating what the future holds, his comments about patience, learning, and personal reflection sparked conversations that went far beyond music. Some people viewed those words as a sign of growth. Others preferred to wait and see what happens as the legal process continues. Both reactions are understandable. The important thing is recognizing the difference between verified information and internet speculation. Every day, social media produces dozens of rumors claiming to reveal exclusive details about this case. Some posts predict outcomes. Others claim secret information. Many are shared thousands of times before anyone checks whether they're actually true. That's why it's important to rely on official court updates and credible reporting rather than viral speculation. At the end of the day, the courtroom, not social media, will determine the outcome of the legal proceedings. Until then, every prediction should be treated as exactly that, a prediction. But regardless of how the legal case ultimately ends, one thing is difficult to deny. Lil Durk has already left a significant mark on hip-hop. His influence can be heard in younger artists. His music continues reaching new listeners. His older albums remain part of playlists across streaming platforms. And his story continues generating conversations unlike almost anyone else in rap. That's the definition of cultural impact. Whether someone considers him one of the greatest artists of his generation or simply respects what he's accomplished, very few people would argue that he hasn't played a major role in shaping today's hip-hop landscape. Looking ahead, there are still many unanswered questions. Will fans eventually hear new music? How will this chapter affect the next stage of his career? Will his experiences change the themes he explores in future songs? Nobody knows those answers yet. Only time will tell. What we do know is that millions of supporters remain interested in what comes next. Every verified update becomes national hip-hop news. Every public statement creates new discussions. Every development reminds people just how much attention Lil Durk continues to command, even while staying away from the spotlight. That level of influence is rare. So maybe the biggest takeaway from today's video isn't simply that Lil Durk broke his silence. It's that one message was enough to remind everyone why his voice still matters to so many people. Whether you support him, criticize him, or simply follow the latest hip-hop news, it's impossible to ignore the impact he's had on the culture. Now it's your turn. Before you leave, I want to hear your opinion because this story has divided the entire hip-hop community. Do you think Lil Durk's recent message from jail shows that he's genuinely changed, or do you believe it's simply too early to make that judgment while his legal case is still ongoing? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read your comments every day, and some of the best video ideas on this channel actually come from your discussions. Also, if you enjoyed this breakdown and want more real hip-hop news without all the unnecessary hype, make sure you smash that like button. It only takes a second, but it helps this video reach thousands of other hip-hop fans who might be interested in the story. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and turn on all notifications. We cover the biggest stories in hip-hop every single week, including updates on Lil Durk, NBA Youngboy, Finesse 2 Times, Gucci Mane, Pusha, King Von, and many more. Whenever major news breaks, you'll be among the first to know. Our goal is simple: bring you detailed breakdowns, verified updates, and the biggest conversations happening in the rap world, all in one place. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Your support means everything and helps this channel continue growing with every upload. Stay safe, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next video with another major hip-hop update. Peace.